Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, it's Comic-Con weekend in San Diego. Tonight we'll show you how Comic-Con is expanding its free events outside the convention center. Streets downtown are packed this weekend with cars, bikes, and scooters. How all that traffic is going to coexist with newly installed bike lanes.
These whole organ studies in space, they're really important for NASA.
As the world marks 50 years since the moon landing, see how the future of space travel is being developed in San Diego.
Has been ever evolving. It's almost as though the city itself is begging for more change constantly.
And in the latest from our series, Where I Come From, KPBS looks at the issue of race from those who live in El Cajon. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. It's Friday, July 19th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Comic-Con is in full swing with crowds of thousands attending the event. Inside the convention center, TV and movie studios are showcasing their latest work. And a bit later, we'll get to know one of the many cosplayers on the convention floor. But first, there's also plenty to do outside, and much of that is free. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is covering that part of Comic-Con for us tonight. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Ebony, yeah, you mentioned it. Comic-Con is in full swing here downtown. There's thousands of people walking around down here, but many people in San Diego don't have a badge. Don't worry, though, there's still plenty you can do. First things first, just outside the convention center here, right underneath the gas lamp sign, this is kind of like central for Comic-Con out here. There's tons of people out here. You can come out here just to people watch, kind of hang out. We got tons of different performers out here. Really, it's a cool place if you don't have one of these. Right across from Petco Park is the interactive zone. Let's go check it out and see what it's all about. Okay, so we're inside. First, check out over here something called the Twilight Zone Experience. And then over here, we have a giant shark representing Shark Week. They're going to be feeding you different things, and you can get your photo in front of that giant shark. Let's go check out what they got over here. We're here at the Ripley's Believe It or Not section, and check this out. This is a Hummer made up of more than 39,000 lottery tickets. And then we got this guy right here. It's a wooden Ferrari, but it's not a car. It's actually a boat. Then behind the Ripley section is a singing competition right over there. And if you want, you can come over with your friends and do some carpool karaoke, but watch out, they're not very good. And then right across from the convention center at 4th Avenue is the Dead Quarters. And this is for AMC's The Walking Dead, where you have a chance to check out some of what is inside the show. We're here at the Amazon Prime Video headquarters now. This is right across from the convention center near 1st Street. Now, they are promoting 3 shows this year, and this is a huge campus they have. But check this out. If you're going to come down here, this one is free, but there's some very long lines for this.
Reason for visiting the marketplace.
We're here inside the market for Carnival Royal. Come on, we got to go in. We got to go. Another fun thing to do right across from the convention center near the Children's Park is the Fox Fair. And check this out. There's a Ferris wheel here that's all free. And that's a roundup of some of the fun and free things to do here at Comic-Con that don't require a badge. We're right now on top of the Ferris wheel. Check out this view of downtown. Yeah, guys, we had a lot of fun out here today. There's so much to do, even if you don't have one of those Comic-Con badges. Remember, a lot of these events are going on through Sunday, and they're all free. Come out and check it out for yourself. Here at Comic-Con in downtown, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Great job, Matt. It looks like you had a wonderful day. A bit later, we'll take a look at the economic impact of Comic-Con in our Friday business report, and we'll be sure to follow KPBS on Instagram for pictures and video from Comic-Con this weekend. Downtown San Diego's network of protected bike lanes quadrupled in size this week. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says it's just in time for Comic-Con.
The streets and sidewalks downtown are packed, but along 6th Avenue, cyclists and scooter riders have a route that's free and clear. The bike lanes are separated from traffic with barriers and a line of parked cars. Andy Hanshaw of the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition says this is what's needed to convince people to get around without a car and keep the streets and sidewalks safer for everyone.
The scooters were here before the bike lanes, but now that they're here, people should adapt and learn to ride in the protected bikeway where they should be. People have been asking to get them off the sidewalks, and this is what it takes to get them off the sidewalks.
Sapphire Nova is visiting Comic-Con from Phoenix. She's been riding electric scooters around town and is glad the new protected lanes exist.
It feels really nice to have a place for ourselves in our own separate lanes. Then you don't have to ride through traffic, and you feel like you've got your own space, and then you don't have to deal with pedestrians too. So it really does feel nice to have safety.
There are now protected bike lanes on Beach Street, J Street, and 6th Avenue. And that's just phase 1. By 2021, the city plans to complete a larger network of protected bike lanes stretching from Little Italy to the East Village. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
You can see a map of the existed protected bike lanes downtown and the ones that are still planned at kpbs.org. If an emergency happens during a big event, first responders are working to make sure they're ready. KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us today's mass shooting drill at SDSU.
If you happened to walk or drive by Viejas Arena at San Diego State on Friday, you might have wondered what was going on. Police and other first responder vehicles parked outside, no shortage of law enforcement on the scene. Fortunately, this was not the real thing. The training scenario we were allowed to shoot today had an active shooter going into Viejas Arena in the middle of a concert, a loud, confusing situation for first responders. The shooter is armed with a rifle, wearing a tactical vest. He shoots the first people he sees, then proceeds to make his way down to the arena floor, where he looks around and fires off more shots. A few of what seem like very long minutes later, university police arrive and the search for the shooter is on. The idea is to make everything as real as possible.
Are you injured? Are you injured?
So having that surprise element, having them work together and collaborate is going to make the training more realistic and more beneficial for us.
Raquel Harriet says training like this also helps police and other first responders make sure everything they need is working the way it's supposed to.
We're testing out equipment, our radios, how we talk to each other.
Harriet says training like this goes hand in hand with an effort the university launched earlier this year, the Active Shooter Response Safety Initiative. The university produced this video where students, staff, and faculty are taught to run, hide, or fight, all part of getting prepared for a scenario everyone hopes never happens again anywhere. John Carroll, KPBS News.
The fallout continues from drastic new rules on getting asylum in the U.S. and from President Trump's weekend tweet about 4 U.S. congresswomen. Join us for the roundtable tonight at 8:30.
East County is the focus of our latest series, Where I Come From. In the weeks ahead, we'll look at the communities of Imperial Beach and Fallbrook. Tonight, we have this story from El Cajon, where people talk about race in their city.
El Cajon, and really East County, like as a whole, has such a wonderfully shocking mix of diversity and racism.
In the beginning, it was prominently kind of a white area, obviously, and then what started to happen in the 80s was there was more of an influx of a Latino population, and then obviously after the 2 Gulf Wars, a large influx of Chaldeans and folks from the Middle East.
There's people who haven't really integrated into the way things work these days.
When you have, I think, so many different backgrounds and extremes coming together, on one hand, there is a lot of blend, but then there's also a lot of clash.
You know, you hear stories about what it used to be, and my wife was here as a child and definitely has more stories about, you know, different things and being chased and called different names and stuff like that.
I definitely had people at my high school that would, have really bad, racist comments to Mexican people, to the Middle Eastern populations that are here, because it was something that they just didn't know and they didn't understand.
You know, you've got your Chaldean immigrants who are, refugees, you've got the white Americans who have been here for, 100 generations.
At first, it was not very accepting, I think, and now it's a little bit better. I think now people are like, oh, okay, I know what that means now. Because, things change and you don't know how to deal with those things, especially if you're a community that's always been the same.
There's a lot more harmony, I think, because I talked about the pockets of, the bigotry and the racism, etc., but that's just what they are, the pockets. The vast majority of El Cajon is people who understand their neighbor and people who want to get along.
It has been ever evolving. It's almost as though the city itself is begging for more change constantly.
We are all there similarly with similar backgrounds, but different races, different religions, different cultures, and so us all put together in the same place, we all kind of we make it work.
We'd like to hear what you think about our series, Where I Come From. Go to KPBS's Facebook page to join the conversation. The 50th anniversary of the moon landing is Saturday, and it has many people reflecting on human space flight. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chetlani shows us how some of the science for long-range missions comes from labs right here in San Diego.
Scientists at UC San Diego gear up for a daily procedure, placing petri dishes filled with tiny brains into a refrigerator. Biologist Dr. Allison Motri and his team are developing these organoids for a voyage.
It's the first time where brain organoids derived from stem cells would be sent to space.
These brain organoids and others from researchers around the country are destined for the International Space Station.
And liftoff.
Scheduled for departure the day after the 50th anniversary of the Apollo mission to the moon.
Here, men from the planet Earth, first set foot upon the moon, July 1969.
And just as NASA is doing, Motri is thinking about long-term human spaceflight, Mars and beyond.
We're going to have humans colonizing other planets or living in the moon. So we need to understand better what's the impact of microgravity on physiology of different systems in the body. We have been focusing the brain because the brain is quite important for you to keep your body functioning. So this mission has one of the goals to understand the impact of microgravity on human neurodevelopment.
Motri says these globs of tissue mimic genetically and architecturally an actual brain. They were made in space conditions and will be kept in a mini lab to control their environment. The only difference will be gravity, or lack thereof. Motri says he's hoping to see how microgravity impacts the brain tissue. For example, he says there might be accelerated aging of the cells. But stem cells generally aren't new to space, and there have already been studies on the human body in space in other ways.
So I have not come back to my Earth height yet. I grew 2 feet, and my brother is 3'6", and now I can rub his head. It's very fun for me. But actually, so I stretched 1.5 inches, and there was this talk that I grew 2 inches. I just stretched.
Retired astronaut Scott Kelly and his twin brother Mark Kelly are part of the NASA twin study. While Scott Kelly spent nearly a year in space, his brother stayed on Earth. NASA has been studying them to see how space conditions impact the body.
I kind of had flu-like symptoms for a few days. Had I not been in space for a year and I knew what this was, I would have gone to the emergency room and said, hey, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm not feeling that great. But that's why we do this. I mean, we need to learn these things if we're going to go to Mars.
And Kelly says there's a lot we need to learn before a safe manned space mission to Mars can happen. Some of that needed research is coming from UC San Diego. UCSD physiologist Alan Hargens vacuums out all the air from an exercise machine, while another health sciences researcher, Brenda Rana, is strapped into it. This type of device could help astronauts maintain blood balance in microgravity by sucking fluids to their feet, says Hargens.
When people do things in space, it takes a long time for them to do it as compared to on Earth. Part of that is because of the loss of gravity, but we think the other part is maybe to lower or altered blood flow through the brain.
Hargens and Rana both worked on the NASA twin study. NASA revealed some initial findings in April, showing, for example, changes in Scott Kelly's gut bacteria. Rana says researchers are now looking at urine and blood samples to see impacts on Kelly's body at the molecular level. But she says there are still some limitations to these findings when studying a whole person and not the tissue.
For these whole organ studies in space, they're really important for NASA. They provide a way to control the environment and just kind of home in on the specific environment of space, microgravity, radiation, and what that does to the organ itself.
Though organs don't work in isolation, she says.
It's important for us to do both studies and, at the cellular level, at the tissue level, at the organ level, at the whole organism level, and put all that information together.
Rana says scientific research coming from places like UC San Diego and nationally can help NASA get closer to a major goal, a safe human expedition to Mars.
I would love for that to happen in my lifetime because I'd love to go and visit Mars.
If all goes well and weather permits, Dr. Motri's brain organoids will lift off on Sunday. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
Researchers say there's still massive amounts of data to sift through in the NASA twin study, and those findings should be revealed soon. Well, this sunny weather will last through the weekend. Dajia Swad has tonight's forecast.
Happy Friday. As we continue through this weekend, going to notice, well, a bit more moisture and temperature starting to rise into the extended forecast. We'll be looking at a low of 65 for tonight. Increasing clouds, and if you're near the coast, you're noticing that marine layer bringing in some clouds into Oceanside as well with a low of 63, 74 in Borrego Springs, and 58 in Mount Laguna. A bit clearer further inland. Now we head into your Saturday. Hot conditions build across much of the Southwest. Typical July heat, so it's seasonable for tomorrow. And so for Saturday and Sunday here at the coast in the mid to upper 70s, we get above average as we continue into your Monday and Tuesday, even into Wednesday. Low clouds and fog, yes, likely, but look at that high at 81 on Wednesday at the coast. Topping off in the 80s for your Sunday, upper 80s Monday, inland areas, and into the lower 90s Tuesday and Wednesday. Above average remain in the triple digits here in the deserts. And as I mentioned, in the mountains, that's where we could see the chance for some thunderstorms and spots for your Tuesday. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Dajia Swad. Back to you.
Saturday is the annual masquerade at Comic-Con, but you can find great costumes and cosplay anytime at the pop culture event. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando spent some time with one cosplayer who goes by the name Dragpole.
I am here at San Diego Comic-Con, where cosplay is taken to the level of art. There are people here who are doing original cosplay, mashups, characters you may not even recognize, but one cosplayer who really gets your attention is Dragpole. So Dragpole, I met you at WonderCon and you looked a little different. So what is this that you're debuting here?
Well, I see Dragpole a little bit like Barbie. The basics have got to stay the same, but everything else is like an accessory. I'm just waiting for the pink Xavier School for Gifted Children dream house.
How difficult is it for you to walk down the floor dressed like this without being stopped?
Oh, I get stopped, but it takes 6 hours to get into this. So you know what? If people recognize it, I just see it as gratitude.
Now, I understand it's you got to do some prep work to get ready for this, and your feet are something you have to pay attention to in these heels.
Of course. My marathon in heels has been 10 hours, and that was quite a painful dog, if you know what I mean. So I had to learn. I'd coat them first with CBD oil, and then I used this spray that marathoners use at about like mile 20 when their dogs are really barking. I call it Freezy spray. I spray them and I'm good all day. I feel fabulous.
So what you do is cosplay. How's that different from just putting on a costume?
Well, you'd probably get 100 different answers from all the people in cosplay and costume here. Cosplay is about loving your character. It's about becoming your character. I'm a storyteller at heart. I want somebody to leave with the idea that they actually got a memory when they meet me. I want them to say, that was drag pool. So even when I cosplayed Rick Grimes, can you imagine Rick Grimes in drag? When I was Rick Grimes, it was more important to me that it looked like I stepped out of the zombie apocalypse, dirty, unshaven, looking like my clothes have been torn.
Now, this is the Marie Antoinette drag pool?
This is Marie Antoinette drag pool, the newest creation, debuted right here at San Diego Comic-Con.
Now, the last thing you have to do before getting onto that convention floor is weapons check. What's that all about?
Ooh, weapons checks make sure that I'm not dangerous, at least not in any traditional way. And if it's done right, it's enjoyable for all of us.
Drag pool? How did that weapon checks go?
You know, it wasn't as pleasurable as I thought it would be. But I'm all tied down now, but not in a good way.
All right, well, you can see drag pool here at San Diego Comic-Con along with a lot of other cosplayers. I'm Beth Accomando, and I am here at the San Diego Convention Center where Comic-Con continues through Sunday.
It's that time for the Friday Business Report with Miro Kopik with SDSU and Bottom Line Marketing. Welcome.
Thank you.
So this week, San Diego has an international spotlight thanks to Comic-Con. And thanks to a contract renewal, we'll have Comic-Con until 2024. So is there really like an economic benefit for San Diego keeping this major convention?
There's a huge benefit for San Diego. First of all, this is by far the largest convention that San Diego hosts. It brings in 135,000 people. There's $150 million in overall economic benefit. The city itself, just from sales tax and hotel tax, receives over $3 million. But more importantly, this really elevates the prestige of San Diego with a true international event. So not only are there 135,000 people, but from 80 different countries, there's going to be 2,500 press from 30 different countries. So not only are they going to talk about the fun and excitement around Comic-Con, but also about the city of San Diego, which elevates our prestige for prospective tourists, people who want to live here, people who want to work here. It's a big showcase for the city of San Diego, and one that we shouldn't be losing. And the extension was really important. It's really contingent on the vote for the convention center expansion with the increase in hotel tax in the spring of 2020. And that's the city is banking on this because Comic-Con, they love San Diego because this is their 50th anniversary, and they do it for nostalgia because it was founded here. But at some point, the profit motive will win out. And if we don't get that resolved in 2024, it's going to be in LA, Orange County.
And despite having Comic-Con, a recent study showed that San Diego is no longer in the top 5 of top destinations for conventions or business meetings. So how big is this convention industry, and which cities are doing it better?
You know, it's an interesting study that came out. It's kind of a little bit of a false positive. San Diego is number 7. It fell from number 5 to number 7. No other California city has cracked the top 10. And we're ahead of cities like New York, Miami, and Washington, D.C. So we're in a good place. The way the study is conducted is that it has 3 parts. One is how many leads do meeting planners receive for a convention request. So for example, the 2 cities that went ahead of us, Dallas and Nashville, those are inexpensive cities. They have great facilities. They're hubs for airlines. A lot of meeting planners will request proposals from the city of Dallas or the city of Nashville. The other 2 components are the number of conventions that we have and the number of attendees. And there San Diego does extraordinarily well. We have over 130 conventions. We have 750,000 attendees. Hotels in the last year, both their occupancy rates have increased, so more people are coming, and they're spending more. Their average daily value, what the hotels bring in per visitor, has increased. So San Diego is doing actually pretty well in the study. It's just that if you think about, we may not be getting as many requests because we're an expensive city.
So no need to panic.
No need to panic.
So this week was Amazon Prime Day, which has become a huge shopping day. It is actually bigger than both Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined. I missed out, and I'm wondering, is there any benefit to actually shopping on Amazon Prime Day?
There is. What's interesting is that in American retail, retailers have never figured out what happens after Father's Day and up to back to school. It's a pretty dead period for retailers, and Amazon is kind of focused on this one window to create excitement around retail. Amazon Prime Day is over 175 million items were bought over this 48-hour window. So this is a big deal for Amazon, but more importantly for Amazon is they get Prime members. Over 50% of all Americans are Prime members. This is after Amazon increased the price of the Prime membership from $99 last year to $119 this year. So people see the value because of one-day shipping, because of the television programming they could see, the audio they could hear, and the number of deals is huge. But the positive for this for overall retail is Amazon's Prime Day has lifted all boats. Big retailers like Target, Walmart, Macy's saw their online sales increase over 65%. And even smaller retailers saw an increase in online sales of 30%. So even though Amazon's a big beneficiary, and like you said, the sales are bigger than Cyber Monday and Black Friday combined for Amazon, every retailer has benefited during a really dead period. So I think it's a big win for the consumers getting better deals, and it helps the retailer's bottom line as well.
So that wraps it up for this week's Friday Business Report. Thanks so much, Miro.
Thanks, Ebony.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.